Can't you see? Everyone! They're here already! You're next!
Let's go!
Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born!
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
So we join you today on what may be one of the most vague and misunderstood national holidays there is, President's Day. Is it a celebration of George Washington's birthday? Is it a celebration of Lincoln's birthday? What is the dealy deal here? All I know is that it's a day that falls reasonably close to Washington's birthday, Lincoln's birthday, and a day where we take a moment to think of, perhaps honor, those that have led this country over the years. But there you go. And more importantly than that, or equally as important as that, rather, Randal Reeder is here to discuss presidents today. And that's why today is our President's Day. Randal Reeder, star of Deadpool, Undateable, K&G Chronicles, 21 Jump Street. I could go, man, we've known you for years. You've come into the show many, many times. Yet Here I am looking at this list of achievements here in front of me that every single time I turned around, there's a new one on it.
Yeah, man, that's the nature of being blessed. You just get to do more. So now on President's Day, I thought Trump thought it was his day.
Well, I mean, I look, if you're Trump, every day is your day. It really is. Whether he thinks it or not, I think he's been, since day one, that guy has been on a reasonably good run. As a human being, he's had, well, it's kind of like Tom Brady. Like, I look at Tom Brady and I go, like, when he was getting ready to be ejected into the universe, when he left the spiritual plane and became part of this mortal coil, I think that God was up there and be like, oh, I have a little extra left over. Nobody took this. Here, have some more. Have a little bit more. Oh, what's this I got? Here, Tom Brady, have some more. And, the guy has led a privileged life. And I feel as though when Trump was getting ready to join this mortal coil, same thing happened. God was like making it rain on our current president of these United States of America. Yes, making it rain good fortune on our current president of these United States of America and indeed leader of the free world. So I think every day is kind of Trump Day. Yeah,
Trump Day.
Trump. What is it? What is President's Day to you? Because it's one of those things where like everyone, and I'm not trying to downplay its importance, but everyone was like, we're off on Monday. Well, oh yeah, President's Day, we get that off. I don't think we used to get that off. Well, this year we get it off, and everybody else. Funkhauser and I walked into empty buildings today to do this show because nobody else.
I'm telling you, the parking lot is empty. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Still 12,000 people on the freeway in Los Angeles.
Yeah, you usually can't find a place to park. What is it for me? Normally a surprise because I am pretty out there. My my schedule, I don't pay attention to stuff like that. I do. Once it happens, I'm like, oh, awesome, cool. I'm very respectful of it. It's just I don't remember when anybody's birthday is. Like my mom, thank God for Facebook, or I wouldn't remember anyone's birthday.
George Washington was officially born February 11th, 1731. Abraham Lincoln was born February 12th. And, at the time, the entire British Empire, including its North American possessions, were on the Julian calendar. The empire, not being bound to the Catholic Church, had not yet adopted the modern Gregorian calendar that the Catholic countries adopted back in 1582. And because of that, by the 1730s, the Julian calendar used by Britain and the colonies was 11 days behind the Gregorian due to leap year differences. And the federal holiday honoring Washington was originally implemented by an act of Congress back in 1879 for government offices in Washington. That's where the whole thing kicked off. And now people seem to think it's an awesome day to go buy a foreign car from a guy from Mexico, which is, America is great again. I'm stoked. Yeah. Do you feel like also big savings and deep discounts on comfortable mattresses as well?
President's Day sale.
So what should we be doing? What is the proper observance and tradition, do you suppose, Randall?
I guess it would be like maybe a minor 4th of July. I mean, it is to be celebrated. We have a president versus a king, or some kind of other monarchy. I mean, we have we're a republic, with constitution and rights, and we have different branches of the government, and executive, legislative, all that, and that's pretty awesome. So
yes.
I think we should be excited about it. And there's a lot of sales on used cars.
Yes. We will continue our President's Day celebrations with Randal Reeder when we return. Thank you for hanging out.
Let's start the show. Hot 2, hot 3, hot AC from your radio, live and uncut. Tonight, you're cutting loose and having fun. Cause that's my job, and my job's about to get done. Yeah, that's how I'm operate.
Leave the stimulation to the professionals.
Everyone is so smart.
KBRC, more stimulating talk radio.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So, like we were saying earlier, this is the reason why there's there's a spread of dates where President's Day could potentially fall. Like I said, the British Empire were on the Julian calendar back in the 1700s. They weren't a Catholic country, which means they didn't adopt the Gregorian calendar. And that meant that Americans, who were under English rule up till a certain point, obviously, Americans born prior to 1752, including our first president of these United States of America, and indeed first leader of the free world, George Washington, typically had their birthdays recognized under what their birthday would have been under the Gregorian calendar. So there's all this discrepancy. Same way that we get, that's the same reason we have the 12 days of Christmas, when they were trying to merge different holidays and recognize the birth of Christ. They're like, we're operating on a couple different calendars here. Rather than fight about it, let's just celebrate for 12 straight days and not, get into semantics about which calendar gives an accurate depiction of the date of the birth of Christ. And so there you go. That's why we're able to put it on a Monday that falls within a certain week without too much fuss. That's why we have President's Day. And we are celebrating President's Day with Randal Reeder, our friend, actor extraordinaire, star of Deadpool, Undateable. You did the Undateable live thing, right?
Yeah, we did. That was awesome. Awesome experience.
Hey, wait, I saw
live?
that. I was in the audience for the first one.
The
very first one.
Oh, the first episode? Or okay.
Of the live one.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I guess they went live and it kind of saved the show, but then I guess it got canceled. I don't know. That's kind of crazy. It saved it for a season. It was really cool, man. We did 2 live episodes, one for the East Coast and one for the West Coast.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
What did it do, for you, knowing that it was live, that there were no sort of line please or cut, let's do that again?
It really tripped me up.
Really, did it?
I really fell. I remember telling my mom, I'm like, wow, live TV, and watch me. And the thing is we were carrying a guy, running with him, and I was like, oh man, we're running down this sidewalk, and it's like a brick sidewalk. I'm like, watch me fall and bust my butt right in front of national TV. And then sure enough, I did. I literally fell the first time. Yeah, it's crazy. So
did it give you new kind of respect for SNL?
Yeah.
Or any live television?
All of that. Yeah, I loved it. I mean, of course, I come from pro wrestling, so that's what we did. I mean, we didn't get
right.
I saw Steve Austin one time giving an interview about, how, some director was really fascinated that he always hit his mark and everything, and he's like, dude, we're pro wrestlers. I've been doing this my whole, hitting the mark in front of millions of people every single night, and you don't get a second, take.
Right.
So, I've always had that respect for it. It was really fun, really exhilarating. I mean, just very exciting. You get the payoff of the crowd, but it's still TV. It was awesome. It was a great time. I was hoping they would want me to be a recurring character or something, because that would just be fun to go back and do that over and over again.
Yeah. Did you feel like, because this is what I've always heard about SNL and any live television, while you're doing it, it feels like this is so unspeakably fast. Like it feels like the pace is.
Oh, yeah.
But then when you watch it back, you're like, feels a little slow. Like at the time, because of adrenaline, you feel like you're rushing through everything. Because I hear that's what they say on SNL. Like you're going to feel like you're rushing. You're really not. You're going to watch it back and it'll feel slow to you. Did you notice that difference?
Absolutely. It's like that with radio too. You know, an hour goes so quick, you know.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wait a minute, we're already on commercial again. And you think, you know, oh, it's going to be so hard to fill this time and all that. And it's just not. It's, you know, it just happens. It goes really fast.
Well, speaking of filling an hour, let's go. It being President's Day, what do you make of our? How many days are we into it, Funkhauser? How long have we had a new president of these United States of America?
Oh, I'm definitely not paying attention anymore.
Yeah, a million years if you ask a liberal.
So, like, how do you feel about where we're at with Trump? And this is what I love about Randall. I know that you're a thinking man's person, and you look at stuff from all angles before you weigh in. And I love the balanced perspective that we've come to get from you. So let's have it. I'm fascinated.
It's tough for me. It's tough for me, and I have to be careful what I say so that I don't lose my SAG membership. No, you know, I mean, obviously Hollywood hates him so viciously, and it's so funny to me because a lot of it. Some of it's warranted. He said some stupid things. A lot of it was I think, taken grossly out of context. And then also so unwarranted because he's not a conservative. He's very moderate.
He was a Democrat till about a second and a half before he decided to run.
Very moderate. You know, a lot of the stuff he's doing would be, you know, celebrated if it wasn't him. And or if it wasn't a Republican doing it, I mean, it's so funny. Even calling him a Republican feels so funny to me because he's just not a Republican. So I hate. I'm still. I don't like the way he says things. I never have. It drives me crazy. Like I say, it's like having Joe. It was like having Joe Pesci run for president. And I'm waiting for him to start stabbing somebody in the throat with a pen. And then, so I don't like what he says usually, or a lot of the times, and I certainly don't like the way he says it. But the things he's doing, I'm pretty down with, for the most part. You know, it's kind of one of those things. Like I wanted to love Obama and didn't. Like I hated most everything he did. I disagree with his policies. But he was so cool. And then this one, I want to hate him, but I kind of like him.
We'll get into more of that next. Thank you, Randal Reeder, for hanging out.
Down to the crown. Radio. 104.1.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radio Land. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on. Come on.
Our guest on the show this President's Day would be Randal Reeder, star of films like Deadpool. Also, you saw him in Undateable Live a little while ago. You've seen him in 21 Jump Street. You saw him in one of the greatest movies of all time ever, Grandma's Boy. He was, of course, Big Bob and Harold and Kumar. A list of credits. Yeah. You know, like, still to this day, all right, like, I had a private bet with myself, like, based on everything that you've been in. And let's call it what it is. You've been in a lot of stoner classics.
Yes.
You've been in, you were also in King of the Hill. You were in Idiocracy. You were in Sin City. But you are also about 7.5 feet tall and extraordinarily recognizable with a beard that would make Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top fame blush.
I don't know about that. But
When you walk down the street, people that know your movies know exactly who you are, and I've been with you when it happens.
Right. People
shout something out, like a line from one of your movies.
Yes.
Have you transitioned? Have you transitioned from Big Bob, with the blank meat sandwich expression that I've heard screamed in public places with kids around. To the
fat Gandalf.
Yeah, are you Fat Gandalf from Deadpool now?
Yeah, I'm starting to get it's tipping, like especially with it on cable. Thank God, if you would have told me that, 20 years ago that I would have been happy to be called Fat Gandalf, often. I'd have thought you were crazy, but spend a decade being called, the sandwich guy.
Yeah.
And
when
all
people
of a sudden,
scream out in the middle of the street with kids around, extra mayo on that.
Yeah, exactly.
I would imagine it would be a refreshing change to move on to Fat Gandalf.
It was really nice to be Fat Gandalf. So, yeah, I'm enjoying it. And not to mention that it was, the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. So
right. Yeah. No, absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Such an awesome flick. If you haven't seen it, please see it. If you've seen it, go see it again. And love Randall's Fat Gandalf moment. It's an iconic bit of film. The same way pretty much everything that you've done has wound up becoming iconic.
Man, I've been so lucky and blessed on those iconic kind of roles with one-liners and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, the whole family style stuff from Idiocracy. I mean, just all the way up to Fat Gandalf.
And let us not forget, sucks to be you, nerd.
Sucks to be you, nerd. I love it. I can always tell what type of person they are by what movies they recognize me from.
I think I'm not entirely sure, but I think when I first met you, the movie that I'd seen, maybe it's just, I'd seen Harold and Kumar, obviously, but I think Sin City was like that is a like now they're doing comic book adaptations that are decent. They stand up. Movies like The Avengers stand up. Movies like movies like Deadpool obviously stand up. But at the time in 2005, as a kid that grew up spending all of his hard-earned money on comic books, being like, girls, I'll never want to see her touch a boob. I'll just spend all my money on these comic books right here. Right. As someone that had faithfully invested big chunks of his life in comic books, every other comic book adaptation up until Sin City was a screaming disappointment, and it's just such a fantastic movie. The way they recreate the comic books panel by panel, it's just you've been involved in. Yeah, you've been involved in many pieces of genius over the years. Right. That one, I think definitely among nerds who it sucks to be goes down in the history books.
It was such a game changer. It really was, and like I say, even when in the audition, I knew it was different when I walked in and I'm literally Xerox copies of the graphic novel is what our sides were.
That's awesome.
It was incredible. So,
really?
Yeah.
So they handed you the comic book and said, "This is what we're recreating."
Xerox, just Xerox copies from the graphic novel. Yeah,
that's cool. Super cool because a lot of the time, how much direction do you really get when you're going in to shoot a scene? Like, do you have? Because that's a very in-depth way of knowing what you're creating.
You just get like description and text. This was like literally the character, which, by the way, I looked like because I was actually booked. I was the kind of the main, I was the main hitman, which is in the book is huge bald guy, and at the last minute, Robert kind of swapped us out, or I don't know, maybe not the last minute, but at some point he swapped us out, and Jason got the lines. And I was the big rough one because of the jacket. They were worried about. Hey, that's a nice jacket, and they didn't think that it would look right with Mickey wearing my jacket through the rest of the movie. And I was like, that sucks. I get screwed out of the lines, And then in the end, they made Mickey look so huge, it totally would have worked. But anyway, whatever. I mean, that's just it is what it is. I mean, I didn't get the lines, but I got my face crushed through the bricks. It might be more memorable, actually.
I think the scene the scene you're talking about, I think, is one of the most memorable parts. It's one of the most memorable pieces of violence in an unbelievably violent movie. Like, it really is incredible stuff. But hey, so back to the President of these United States of America and leader of the free world that we are celebrating today on President's Day. Yeah. You brought up something kind of interesting, which is sort of like, had it come from the mouth of anybody else, and people are so eager to jump all over each other. And you know what? I think I think we are in such a boy that cried wolf time in politics. And my favorite example of this, you said so much of what Trump says is misconstrued or taken out of context or willfully twisted by people. And on both sides of the political equation, I find that to be so unhelpful. My favorite example of that, and there are many more, but my favorite is bigly. You know, this word that Donald Trump supposedly invented. Oh, we're going to do it, and we're going to do it bigly. Oh, it'll be bigly great. And anybody that takes 2.5 seconds to look into it a little bit knows, or even listens to it again, knows that he's saying big league. Like, right. Oh yeah, we're going to do it, big league. Right. You know, and which makes perfect sense. But people are just they want something to grab onto. And they want something to grab onto that will allow them to run the guy down. Right. And this is on both sides of the political fence. This is not unique to liberals. This is not unique to this is not unique to liberals or Republicans or left or right or whatever.
No, politics have just gotten way too vicious.
Way too vicious, and also in that viciousness, in that looking for anything that you can use to run down someone that's different from you, you get further and further away from the truth. The guy didn't say bigly, he said big league. And yes, it's hilarious to say, oh, he invented a word and it's bigly, and it's funny to go around saying, hey, you want to go out for a coffee later? That would be bigly great. It is funny. I'll take a bigly coffee, but it's just you get so much further away from the truth. And then when you do have a legitimate argument or a legitimate beef or complaint about something that has actually been said, it makes you look kind of silly because you're the person that's running around saying bigly when nobody actually said bigly.
Well, let me go even more controversial. One of his things, and I was sucked into this. In fact, there's posts like I made all over social media about, I can't believe he would do such a thing. But when he made fun of, or allegedly made fun of, the handicap reporter, it's kind of been debunked because they've got him doing the same motions when he was talking about Ted Cruz and all kinds of other people. Now, though horribly unbecoming of a president to do, to bounce his hands around and to do that. I mean, it's horrible, but it's really not much unlike. How many times do those of us who aren't politicians go, God, that is so retarded, that is so, and it's like, obviously if you were with somebody and all of a sudden I'm with somebody I don't know that, and they go, hey, my kid's, mentally handicapped, dude, don't be saying, I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry, dude, I totally didn't mean that. I just, said it like that. So though horribly unbecoming for a guy to get up there and bounce around like that, I don't think he was talking about that particular guy. I really don't. And so now you've got this narrative that's being pushed, on the, what's the Golden Globes and all these where people are talking about how he did this. And it's like, did he really? I'm not sure he did. So, and that's obviously a debatable and controversial one. And there's, much more easy softballs to hit. But that's even that one is debatable.
Do you think Trump is going to have a second term?
I think if he knocks it out of the park, yeah, I do. I thought the Republican Party was over. In fact, I said, probably talking to you, that if the Republicans don't win this time, they will never win again. I thought it would reach a critical mass tipping point where they would never win again. And this comes from somebody who, I am not a Republican. Like, I absolutely am not a Republican. Though I do have to lean that way when it comes to the two-party system. I absolutely resent them almost as much as the Democrats. But now I'm wondering if the Democrats will get elected again. I mean, it's wild, man. And then, we'll see if they're going crazy is going to do like the Tea Party did and kind of revive the party, or if them going crazy is going to completely destroy their party. Because they're kind of crazy is not Tea Party crazy. Tea Party people were rallying and having, all this stuff. They weren't tearing stuff up and really this hateful. It's kind of crazy. So
the thing about the Trump, I have two sort of, and this will change, I'm sure, as time wears on. But right now, like I'm an optimist. I look for the silver lining in pretty much any situation. Myself. And there's two things about Trump's presidency that give me great hope. One, The man has an ego that, well, I don't think anyone would question that the guy thinks rather a lot of himself. And the man has a desire to leave a lasting legacy with regard to his name. That's a reason why everything is Trump.
Sure.
That's what reason, like Trump hotels, Trump steaks, Trump University, Trump left, right, and center. He wants the biggest impression he can make with his name. And I don't think he wants to go down in history. I don't think he wants to go out as the guy that failed the people that voted for him. And I think that there's a lot of folks that voted for him went, okay, you made some pretty lofty promises. Let's see how we do. And he made promises to the entire world. And I think that, I think just his wanting to leave a legacy where he's remembered as one of the greats, no matter what it is he does, greatest real estate developer, greatest president, greatest doer of what he can with the hair he's got, whatever the case may be with him, he wants to leave a legacy that has some pride.
So you're saying ego can be a good thing?
I think if you're driven to not fail, and the people you're not failing are the people of America, that might not be a bad thing. If he wants to
what
leave
great things have ever happened in society that weren't ego-driven? Whether going to the moon, whether having the fastest car, whether having the safest car. It's always a competition. So it could end up being a good thing. And I'm going to tell you, looking at someone who, really can't stand his mannerism and not a big fan at all, and also someone who didn't like Obama, I don't think that the egos are any different. I think that Obama was just as egomaniacal, every bit so, as Trump. I think he just packaged it in a much more palatable and, his mannerisms were just more palatable to the public. And that's all.
To step up and go, I think I should be president of these United States of America, you gotta be insane. There's no one is up to that task. And if you think you are, you're a freaking wackadoo, and probably you should be institutionalized.
You're sociopathic just to get that far. Literally, everyone in Washington, all the CEOs of the major, Fortune 500 companies, all of them are sociopathic, exhibit sociopathic tendencies. They put their desire over their families or whatever. It's just, there's all, if you run them down, it's funny when they say, oh, Trump's a sociopath. It's like, okay, well, I saw Dr. Phil with the women that I can't stand on the morning, with Joy and The View. He was on there and he ran down, well, let's just look at what a sociopath is. And he goes through, I think it was sociopath, one of those paths. And he read down exactly what they were, and she was just like, and Joy was just like, oh yeah, see, that's him. Oh yeah, that's him. That's him. Oh yeah, absolutely. Check. And then he said, actually, that's everyone sitting at this table. You know what I mean?
And everybody sitting in this room
now.
Rolling up an H-town, always hot enough to do with the top down. Cool breeze, palm trees, tonight it's all good in the 713. Whoa, 713, whoa, 713, whoa, 713. I was in 212, now it's 713. Here I am, with the H-town jam. Came to the city with a master plan.
For more stimulation and less irritation, 9 out of 10 doctors choose KPRC AM 950, Houston's more stimulating talk radio. Now, more AD on the radio.
So there are two things, like I was saying, that give me hope with regard to Donald Trump's presidency. There are two things that I think are pretty positive about the whole situation. One is the ego-driven nature of being a president. I think Donald Trump, more than pretty much any other president in history of the United States, wants to leave a lasting legacy of having been the best at literally everything that he has ever done. In sort of a Kim Jong-esque way, it's hard for him to not be lauded as the single greatest blank that has ever lived whenever he's doing something, whether that is, like I said, making what he can of what is left of that thing on top of his head, or whether that is running a country. Now, I think that he made a lot of promises to a lot of people, and if he doesn't fulfill some of those, if he doesn't fulfill the idea of having made America great again, which, let's be real here, when it came to exciting a base, had a lot to do with money. I think that, he wants to stimulate the economy. And this is what I love about, this is what I have a hard time with, rather, is that people have people are so divided, they're so eager to jump on anything that the opposition does that they can't call a good thing a good thing. When Trump's economic policies, before he even became president, resulted in car manufacturers moving jobs from Mexico to
the Dow
Detroit,
records.
Yes, exactly. Like, this is a good thing. You might hate many of the things that he's said and done, but be happy for the 1,000 line workers in Michigan that now have jobs moving forward. I think that's a really cool thing. And so many people are just determined to hate everything that anybody does because they have a different label smacked on them than they do, that you don't get a chance to celebrate the good. And I think you're selling yourself short out of some enjoyment if you do that.
On the other hand, as someone who's, lived in Hollywood for, decades, and worked in Hollywood with Hollywood people, and in fact like on Wednesday, I was on a pilot shoot, and I was, having a political discussion with, the stunt coordinator and the director, And so I kind of understand where they're coming from, though I completely disagree. They don't care about capitalism. In fact, they hate capitalism. So they do see it as a big evil. So, what I'm looking at going, well, I don't like what he says, but it's going to be a great 4 years, Mm-hmm. They don't care. They're just worried about some iceberg that's going to break off. They're worried about, future things, and they're worried about somebody being offended more than other things. I mean, and I'm not saying that's wrong necessarily, though I completely disagree with it. That is just their opinion. That's the melting pot we live in. I think it's weird and peculiar to worry about what someone says more than what they do, get your feelings hurt over something. It just doesn't make sense to me. But, though I'm a Christian, Doug Stanhope is my favorite comedian. So, it's like I'm kind of a walking contradiction in that way.
Well, I mean, but the thing, let me ask you this. Those people that don't care about the fact that 1,000 line workers in Michigan now have jobs where they didn't before, how are they doing financially? Do you think they wonder where their next meal's coming from?
I mean, that's the thing, dude. A lot of this stuff a lot of the hate and the vitriol for the right and the conservatives and all that come from kind of gated type communities. They really do.
And I think, let's deal with the upsides, though, because, I think that Trump's desire to leave a lasting positive legacy on America is, he's got an ego that doesn't want to go down in history as a guy that managed to F it all up. The other thing that I like about it is that, look, left, right, up, down, wherever you want, it's a confusing time. Tensions are running high, and you feel as though the entire world is at a tipping point. And I think one of the cool things that's making people do is really take a moment to think about who they are and what they stand for. And look, the idea of the truth, you're getting further and further away from it every single day. The moment somebody it was something that we felt coming forever and ever, because someone say this is a fact and they're like, well, really, fractionally not. Like, the moment the term alternative fact was introduced into the zeitgeist, it basically put a label on something that we've all been feeling for years, where we're going, I don't think we have a decent source of the truth. I don't know.
I don't know if we ever will again.
Closer. I don't know if we ever will again.
Because there's so much knowledge.
There's so much knowledge and there's so much contradictory information. And the moment you want to present the idea that the sky is blue, there's going to be somebody with a little bit of time on their hands willing to do research on the internet that can probably prove to you in some way, shape, or form that it's brown or red. And because the idea of the truth is becoming more and more of an elusive quality, it's making people, I think, look within themselves for their own truth and
Right.
think about who they are and what they stand for. And I'm an optimist when
Well,
it comes to
I am
our
too.
fellow Americans. I think people are defining themselves in a positive way because of the chaos.
Right. Well, check this out. Like, I mean, just for instance, one of his policies, which I'm blown away that there's this move from the left and the right, or so many people, to it seems like they want to go to war with Russia, and I'm just like, wait a minute, like, shouldn't the left be all like, hey, he's not trying to go to war with anybody. This is kind of cool, but certainly not Russia. I mean, my God, we're talking about the two countries that can, possibly, cause a global extinction. And he's all like, well, let's just I think it's better to have a good relationship with him. Well, don't you think that he's a killer? Don't you think that he's a war criminal? Well, I'm just trying to have a better relationship with the guy, I mean, you know what I mean?
No. Like, I remember us talking about this where, like, and it was one of the most profound things Trump has ever said.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's one of the most profound things any president has ever said. And had it come out of the mouth of anybody else, it would be top of the heap of what people were thinking about and talking about for a long time. And that thing is, and bear in mind that we live in one of the greatest examples of freedom and democracy on the face of the planet. We have more opportunity. There's reasons why people want to come to this country and build a life, because we have opportunity. We have so many things in this that make America truly great, even though apparently we're trying to make it greater again. But when Trump said this one thing that Randall and I both freaked out about, the entire world should have lost its mind, and they didn't. We'll get into what that was next.
Real radio. Real radio. 104.1.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is.
The Dumbing Up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
Our guest on the show today, Randal Reeder, and Randall and I both freaked out about one thing Donald Trump said, one of the most profound things that has ever come out of the mouth of any president ever. And had it been somebody else that said these words, it would be all we would be talking about for days and days on end. But because of the source, I don't think people picked up on it quite as much. And I'll let you take it, Randall. What did Trump say that made us both go, oh,
You talking about with Bill O'Reilly?
Yeah.
Yeah, where he's, what do you think, we're so innocent?
Yeah. No, Bill O'Reilly was grilling him about being cozy with Vladimir Putin, and he said, we're not so innocent.
Right.
And look, like we were saying earlier, America is an amazing place. There's people that come to America for opportunity from all over the world, for religious freedom from all over the world. Yes, we have our problems. They are numerous, but
war's hell.
We are America, and there's a reason why people want to come here. There's a reason why we have this idea of American exceptionalism, American being great, and why we love our country. It is truly one of the greatest places on the planet for an individual to go out and make a life for themselves, and that's awesome. But to the rest of the world, we are known as the deadliest nation on the planet. We are. We are. And like when Trump said, we're not so innocent, the weight that a statement like that carried in terms of going, you look at any president, any administration, any piece of American history, and you dig just a little bit under the surface, under the sort of idea of patriotism and American exceptionalism and wanting to say that America is all right all the time. It's just the weight that ludicrous statement carried is huge.
Well, what was it Kennedy said? It's an unfortunate fact that the only way to ensure peace, something that's, is to prepare for war. Something of that. I'm paraphrasing, of course, butchering his words, but I mean that's the country we live in, and we've always been that way. And unfortunately, war is rough. So not to say that America ever goes out to do bad things. That's debatable, whether we actually go into another country to take over and all this kind of stuff. But we are the police force of America. I mean, of the world. We're the police force of the world. And much like the police force, in America where, bad things happen abroad at our hands, there's bad, sometimes it's bad people doing bad things. Sometimes it's just being stuck in a bad situation where there's no good out. And we're not innocent, and no one is. When everyone, talks about how we're this conquered nation, or where we conquered the Native Americans and all this kind of stuff. Show me a country that wasn't conquered.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has a bad history on this planet. Everybody.
Yeah. Everyone up until it. Look, I mean, a big part of why America was hesitant to come to the aid of England in the Second World War was like, hey, this idea you have of imperialism, like your colonies, the sun never sets on the British Empire. You need to let go of that before we get into this, because that's no longer cool, Winston Churchill. And I love Winston Churchill. Like when I look back at leaders of our time, Winston Churchill, Abraham Lincoln, all these folks, but there's, nobody's perfect, and people love to create this idea of shining pinnacles of righteousness within politics, and it's just not there. I don't care who it is, but they're going to have a seedy underbelly.
So how much do you love Winston Churchill? Would you replace Martin Luther King Jr.'s bust with Winston Churchill? Oh, wait, that didn't happen. Never mind. That was fake news.
A friend of mine in Sweden that I grew up with, he was like, I just want everyone to know I'm okay. The Je suis Charlie things that flew around when there were the attacks on the satirical magazine in France, Charlie Hebdo. They had a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad, and they were attacked by ISIS, and it was a horrible, horrible thing. And Je suis Charlie sort of was what it was, the watch expression of the day. A friend of mine in Sweden said, "Je suis whatever happened in Sweden."
How bad does he say it is over there, by the way?
He says it's pretty good. He said, "Yeah,
is it pretty like Sweden? I mean, got some radical Islam crazy neighborhoods that can't go in. I hear some pretty bad things from some Europeans I know. What about your guy?
He seems to be pretty chill with everything. He was just like, we haven't talked much about it, but
Does he live in a gated neighborhood?
He's one of those Swedish guys that got in at the ground level of the internet, so I'm sure he probably lives in a gated neighborhood that floats many miles.
He's above the fray.
He is above the fray. No, he is definitely above the fray and above the crawl. But I tell you one place where England, where I grew up, is I've got friends that live there that are just like, this is not a good look right now. You know, this is not. There's some neighborhoods in London that are just, and look, throughout history, there's been neighborhoods in every city where you don't want to go, but there's neighborhoods you don't want to go now in London because they are. It's whether it's recognized by the legal system there or not, it's essentially Sharia law in the streets. You
just can't have that. I can't believe people are cool with allowing that. Blows me away. Not to mention, just immigration wise, England's an island, not a large one, or not. I mean what do you like? You have to have some limits there, guys, because it's only going to hold so many.
People can literally swim across the channel, but it is still an island. It's absolutely.
But I'm saying if anyone needs to limit immigration, it would be an island that only has and we're not talking like Australia, who's a continent. I mean, we're talking, a relatively small place. So it's crazy, but it's getting Europe's getting wild, man.
Europe's getting wild, like England especially is getting wild. It's definitely interesting times. Here I feel as though do you think the posturing, look, the posturing before Trump was even elected president, was even sort of inaugurated, changed the economic policies of major car manufacturers before he was even president because of some stuff that he tweeted. Car manufacturers moved their production back to America, because they were like, ooh, border tax. That sounds like a big chunk out of our bottom line. Let's okay, fine. Do you think that because of the posturing that Trump has done with regard to taking on terrorism, things have settled down in America? I mean, like, it's hard to say because there's still the fervor, there's still the sort of like the fear, there's still.
I don't know. I mean, it's so
sentiment.
weird. It's you can sit here and say, well, we really don't have those problems, yet, or we don't. Why are we worried about these problems? Well, but it's like we're preppers. I mean, this is a nation of preppers. Not that everyone is, but I mean, we came out of, rebellion. We're a different nation than other nations, and we kind of think ahead, and also we're responsible for the rest of the world in a way. So. And also, then you go, why? Okay, so it's happening there, so we should let it happen here. I mean, I don't know. It's a complicated issue when you get into all that kind of stuff. It's such a mess. Such a mess.
Do you think Trump should stop tweeting?
I did. I totally did, and now I kind of don't. I think that the media, what's happening is they're losing their hold. He is so far, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he's the most transparent president we've ever had. And I think that they can't deal with that because used to they were the moderator of what made it to the plebes. And now he's just going straight from P to plebe, man. I mean, he's the president talking straight to the dude in Ohio or Texas or Michigan or wherever, And anybody who's got a Twitter, I can't believe that we have our first Twitter president and that it's that powerful. And I have to keep using the word Twitter and tweet because it just blows me away. It sounds so silly. Like I resisted being on Twitter forever. You made me get on Twitter because I'm like, dude, that is so childish.
I'm not going to do something called
silly.
tweeting.
I'm not going to tweet. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And then now we have a president that's tweeting all the time, and it's changing policy. And now we have leaders of other countries tweeting back and forth. It's just crazy. It's like it's become this glove to walk up and slap someone across the face with. It's awesome.
Oh, very good, very good. Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's such an interesting time, but I mean, it's just changing. I mean, it's changed. Social media has changed everything, and it's changing nations and international policies and all this stuff. And of course, they're resistant to it because for I don't know however many years they've been they've been going on TV telling us what to believe, and now they can't do that anymore.
I mean, people on social media, just because of the way digital information is spread around the world in no time flat, people are living their life out loud, I suppose is the expression that people like to use. And Trump is leading out loud.
But it's so much more honest.
It involves no filter whatsoever. Bill Burr described Donald Trump in this way. He's like dealing with a drunk guy at a bar who says something like ridiculous and like, hey, you said that. Did I? Yeah, I probably did.
I probably did.
Yeah, that sounds like me.
But it's pretty awesome.
Take a joke.
I mean, it's kind of bad, but it's I saw someone saying, the positive about this whole social media and Twitter thing and all that is that now now of course he was saying it like, well, now we know who's racist. Now we know who's. So he was coming from that from that point of view or that narrative. But actually, the truth is, you know who everyone is. I mean, you actually. You give everyone a voice, and now there's no hiding behind decades or a lifetime of who they were. I mean, imagine if Bush or Bill Clinton or all these people were tweeting back then, man. What would we really know? I mean, it is such an honest. It's scarily honest,
There's no place to
it.
hide. Yeah, there's no place to hide, and people love to dig up tweets from however many years ago. That anybody can get caught out for this sort of thing. Professional athletes, presidents, world leaders can get caught out for tweets. Trevor Noah of The Daily Show, like when he got his gig, people were like, oh, he said anti-Jewish stuff.
Right.
What do you think of that, Jon Stewart? And Jon Stewart said, I think he's a comedian that said something that some people that didn't really work the way he thought it would a couple years ago, and he said it on Twitter. And we can't all be perfect all the time. There's a level of honesty, because it used to be
making
sort of
everyone
like,
honest, bro. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I thought it was horrible and horrifying, and now I'm sitting here going, I don't know. I'm liking this, man.
I can't believe it. I can't believe we're out of time. I cannot believe we're out of time. Randal Reeder, it always goes this fast, and I can't wait to have you back again. Randal Reeder, where can people follow you on Twitter?
Oh, gosh, what is it? At Randal Reeder, I think? Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much just type in Randal Reeder and spell it correctly, and it'll be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff.
And if you haven't seen it yet, please go watch our boy Randal in Deadpool, which has hit cable recently, right?
Oh, yeah, you don't even have to go. You can just, turn on the TV now.
Yeah,
awesome.
Stay at home and watch Randal Reeder. Sounds like a good way to spend your President's Day.
Benefit of the doubt, even when they don't deserve it. And sometimes you feel good about yourself for being the better person and doing that. Well, this is not one of those times. I don't think you realize what's on my mind. I've been too nice for way too long. I think I want you to know just what is going on. So bite me, you're a bag of suck. Every second I'm around you, I put down some bad luck. And knowing you just sucks every day. And I wish I could find a way to make you go away. So maybe if I just tell you you're a terrible person, you leave me alone, yeah, that would stand to reason.